Legion Games news and tidbits from around the board gaming scene and hobby. Because I haven't done one of these in a while, and a lot of the stuff has come out already that I had sort of collecting and rolling over time. So we're going to go with stuff you've probably heard a little bit of, and maybe some stuff you haven't heard of. So you know what? It's a good time as any. Help me get to 7K by the end of the year. Maybe. Click, subscribe to YouTube thing. Maybe. You know, it'd be helpful. Anyway, that's all I got. Thanks for watching in the first place. That's what matters more. Let's go right into it. News, baby. News. We got to start with the big ones, baby. It's Star Wars. Star Wars, the deck building game. And this is going to be somewhat divisive, somewhat split, because frankly speaking, a lot of us, big Star Wars fans, we're hoping for something cooperative, right? I'm hoping for something that I can play with. Give me a new Star Wars freaking LCG. Give me Star Wars Destiny's LCG. Give me Star Wars Destiny's back. Anyway, but that's what, you know, sort of deciphers old game. Give me something like that that even uses the legendaries, the non-canon stuff from my childhood. Give me so much depth there, and you chose a cooperative deck building game from FFG that is probably going to be a slow rollout of Marvel Legendary, only it looks more like Star Realms than anything else. Star Realms with a changing marketplace like in the middle, a la Star Realms, but with more going on there than anything else with the two factions. So I don't know. I mean, am I gonna get it? Yeah, I'm gonna get it because I gotta try it out. I'm a Star Wars freaking fan. I mean, it's like Spirit Island, right? Like, I'm gonna own it all, but it's just a matter of when I get it and how good or not it is. Because what I fear too is you had X-Men Insurrection, that one that was like the Elder Sign version of X-Men, that was pretty much crap. Not crap, but it wasn't thought of to be very good in terms of just, you know, what it should have been and could have been and what it actually was. And now they haven't really supported it at all, so it can't fix any of the flaws, because even Elder Sign, the base game, isn't that great, but a couple of the expansions make it a lot more fun, make it a lot more malleable, make it a lot more replayable. And that's what I worry about this, is how many nickel and dimed expansions are we going to get with this to make it where it should be to begin with. I mean, when I think of this, I think of like War of the Ring, that release coming out in the near future. From Ares, right? I want to see that level right in the base game. Now you can add expansions to that, but the base game is incredibly solid, and that's what I hope for with this, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Now the other thing that's coming out from Star Wars is we have Star Wars Shatterpoint from Atomic Mass Games. This is a miniature skirmish game in case Star Wars Legion wasn't enough for you, right? This is going to be going sometime in the middle of 2023, and you're going to be fighting across the galaxy, apparently. Dynamic miniatures, thematic squads, and just battling with special abilities and combat skills as you go across. Now, if it's like Legion and you have to assemble a bunch of stuff, it's automatically going to, you know, get people like myself out of the market, right? Like, that's the whole thing with the Marvel one too. Like, if I didn't have to assemble, if I didn't have to paint, I would pay a slight increase not to have to do those things so I could actually get it played to the table. But I have a hard enough time getting things like Star Wars Armada, which they've kind of killed off already, to the table. And so this is going to be, I don't really know how I feel about this. I mean, again, playing on my nostalgia, but is it actually going to be any good? And that's really the question with another skirmish-based game. I don't want to be measuring out distances for my Star Wars games, folks. Not too much, at least. Not too much. I'm sorry, Armada. I'm sorry. But that's my concern. So there you go. CMON announced a while back. They teased this on Twitter. They teased it a couple other places. Iron Maiden with their game lines. Zombicide exclusively, along with a few other promo packs that are going to be available, like with Rising Sun and Ankh, and even Cthulhu, potentially. So, I don't know. You know, Iron Maiden was even before me, so I have no interest. I have no desire whatsoever. I'm sure there is desire for this, because otherwise it wouldn't have happened, but color me not one of those people. So anyway, thought I'd cover it. Came out, I think, a little bit before the announcements of the Fear of the Unknowns campaign. So, I mean, this one's a little bit older on the list of things. Next up, Pandasaurus, one of my other favorite companies here. Pandasaurus is putting out a Persona 5 Royale cooperative card game. If you're not familiar with Persona 5, basically a group of teens get superpowers, right? Like, I mean, that's basic story for a lot of things. And they go and they become phantom thieves. That's the name of their group, as vigilantes, stealing evil intent out of the dreams or the supernatural world of adults. And they're going up against things like that are known as shadows. So this is going to be a cooperative, oh, color me intrigued, cooperative card-based strategy game. I'm intrigued. Now, the problem is I kind of hope it's not like RWBY, the Kickstarter that came out for that anime, because that kind of was a little bit of a letdown. I mean, the potential is there, but it just was not as well executed as it probably should have been. But the problem with this one isn't going to be coming out until the end of 2023. So they announced this like a freaking year early, which is insane of a tease from that standpoint. So, I mean, looks super cool, sounds cool, no info though. Take it for what it is right now. Speaking of teases for other things, Sword and Sorcery announced recently that they're going to be having another expansion to come to Kickstarter, and this one is named Abyssal Legends. When is it coming? No idea. It's compatible. It's not probably going to be standalone, and that's about all I know based on the picture that's in front of you. So if you're a Sword and Sorcery fan, if you prefer that style of dungeon crawl over others, have this one on your radar sometime in the next, probably, I don't know, 6 months maybe? Probably the less, but under promise, over deliver there with that one. Now you're going to look at this one and you're going to go, Chris, why did you forget to blow something up? What's going on with this? This is Huang. Huang. Now, why am I talking about this? I'm talking about this because Phalanx Games has picked up the rights, both excitedly and terrifyingly disappointingly, the rights for Yellow and Yangtze, the Knizia game that is out of print that goes for almost $200 in the secondary market right now, because it's just so well thought of in terms of the Tigris and Euphrates versus Yellow and Yangtze, right? I happen to fall on the Yellow and Yangtze side of things, but I still have to get some Samurai and a little bit more Blue Lagoon in there to do a full, complete breakdown of things. But this is sort of the excitement. Now, why is it also slightly disappointing? Because they've said they're going to do it miniaturized. They're going to miniaturize this Knizia. And so in case you don't want to pay the aftermarket cost now, don't worry, you can get it, but it'll probably be about the same price on Kickstarter, crowdfunding, or whatever it comes to in the future, which is the problem. Like, I just want a $45 version of this game if you don't have a copy of it right now. Like, if you're one of those people, right? Like, that's what you want, not like a $150 copy of it necessarily. Now, if you go over to the Board Game Geek forums, they tested it out at Essen. They'd say there is going to be a miniatureless version. What is the price point going to be? And who knows? It looks like it's also going to be going up on GameFound in January of 2023. So we'll get a better sense shortly. I mean, that's weirdly enough to say. That's only 2 months away at this point. But I don't know. Like, I have Yellow and Yangtze. Like, do I need more? There was a non-produced expansion of Yellow and Yangtze that was rumored for a long time. It's still even up on the Board Game Geek database, and so I'd like to see something like that personally. Although I don't know what you would do expansion wise, but it's a freaking sweet game that's hard to get to the table, but it's amazing, and so I'd love to see more of it. So I can't really complain too much, but we're going to see what the market is for something like this that's out of print really recently, as opposed to other ones like Ra in the past year that have also come to crowdfunding but have been out of print for a significantly longer time. What's the dynamic? What's the price point? What's the actual funding and hype going to be? We'll see when it comes. Now, the other one that we're going to talk about is over here from Board and Dice. Board and Dice has said, you know what? We see other people doing it on crowdfunding as well, so we're going to do it as well. We're going to give you Teotihuacan, City of the Gods, the Big Box, coming to Kickstarter next year, and it's going to have all of the expansions, and they're going to bling the heck out of it because we need more worker placements with bling. No, but this is a really well thought of game, and I understand why people like it as a dice worker placement game, going around the outside edges, utilizing the dice numbers as well as the placement that matters as you're moving them around to gather your resources to go up the tracks and to score victory points. And I only played the base game. I haven't played any of the expansions, but it's going to be offering all the expansions as well. So you can have the core and the expansions all match as one if you're getting all the deluxifications to go along with it. Now, they say that you can get also all the other promos and all the other challenge cards that go along with it as well. They're going to be offering apparently a separate upgrade kit. So if you just have the base game and you want to make it prettier in Deluxifier, I went there, Deluxifier. I'm making up words as I go. That's why nobody subscribes to my channel. They're going to be offering that for you too. So have that on your radar as well in January of 2023 on crowdfunding. Again, there you go. So let's go through the hotness right now. What's on the hotness? What's on the Board Game Geek hotness? What do you need to know about and why? Well, first up, we have Unconscious Mind. Unconscious Mind is killing it out of our crowdfunding Fantasia games, coming from the publishers of the recently coming to backers, Endless Winter Paleo Americans. And so this is just another in the line of Freud's grand experiment where you are trying to avoid the Freudian slip and trying to become the best dream interpreters, client-based personnel of Freudian's assistants, better than your opponents in that way. And so you're going to be doing that in sort of a heavier style, not necessarily totally worker placement, but resource management game. And we're going to see where it goes and how well it does. I mean, it's already at about $500,000, so that's relatively impressive, and it just has ways to go up and up and up in the last week or so of this campaign. I have a copy. I will be having a video before the end of the campaign as well, so I get to join the hotness at some point. So there you go. Next up, right behind it, it's Endless Winters Paleo Americans. What else can I say? Combination of worker placement and deck building. Again, I have a copy of it. Fantasia Games was super good to me recently, so I'm going to have something out like in the next probably month or so I can give you a more detailed look. How does it compare? I mean, all the stuff that was hyped when the crowdfunding game campaign ran in terms of Lost Ruins of Arnak and Dune Imperium comparisons are going to be there. But just again, how does it compare for someone who's not a heavy worker placement? Because that's really, I mean, the appeal for Dune Imperium for me. And how is this one going to hold up? How does this compare? And what else do you need to know? Well, hopefully I'll give you some of my thoughts. Next up, we have Frosthaven. Frosthaven is killing it as well because it's finally being delivered. So people have it, but it's going to be shipping like even to like North America over like 2 months. And so I am inevitably one of the last 5% that always gets their game. So I'll probably have mine right after New Year's. And you can ask me how it is after my New Year and the 36 pounds of games that I won't get played before the middle of the summer until it cools and thaws off then. So take that for what you will. Arc Nova is still killing it over on the hotness because it's Arc freaking Nova. The recent expansion announced as well as the extra zoo pack. So there's plenty of hotness there to keep you, warm in the winter months. And eventually I'm going to be doing a comparison of the yearly best games ever of the last 3 or 4 years, right? You know, you've had Oathsworn, you've had Dwellings of Elderville, you've had Arc Nova, and all 3 of them in separate groups, minorities, and circles have been proclaimed the best games of all time. And are we gonna see that prevailing trend? Well, that's a whole nother video, and I hope no one steals it before because I announced it now, but that's going on. Weather Machine is also delivering from Lacerda. This is Lacerda and Eagle Griffin Games' latest crowdfunding game to be coming to backers, and I don't really know how it's being received. I mean, people love Lacerda's. As I mentioned elsewhere, you've got your fanboys of Leader, you got your fanboys of Stonemeyer, you got your fanboys of you got your fanboys of Lacerda as well from that aspect of things. So how does it compare to other ones on Mars, Kanban, his other games that are similar out there? I have no idea whatsoever. I'll leave that to the heavy gamers, and they can tell me in the comment section what I need to know about it in that sense. Flamecraft is also on the hot list right now. Again, Deluxifications are all the rage. Deluxifications were the name of the game on Flamecraft, and everybody wants to pretty up their game, and that seems to be the main appeal. And people say there's really a game to go with it that they like too. So that's frosting, or that's the whipped cream and cherry on the top of the actual game itself, because people love dragons and plushies and all the things that go along with it. So it's on the hotness for that reason. Oathsworn's still killing it over on the hotness as well, as this campaign ends up, and it's going to be just over $3 million by the time it ends. It's going to be interesting. It's raised a little bit less money than I thought, but because they really stayed true to themselves and they didn't try and throw expansion, or new on top of everything else, they just said, hey, you want the game? Here you go. Give them a lot of kudos for doing that in the first place. Thank you, Shadowborn. Awakened Realms' latest ISS Vanguard is also on the hotness now because we have basically it delivering in the first wave to people. And people are really being excited by it. There's a lot of innuendo, there's a lot of hype, there's a lot of suggestion that this is maybe the best game from Awakened Realms that they've put out. Again, I don't know. I get the one wave shipping, so I'm going to get it all in like 2024. Sorry, can't resist it. Who knows? I don't know when I'm going to get it. I don't pay attention to that. It shows up when it shows up. It's going to be sort of a combination of narrative and card-driven gameplay with a campaign situation. And I'm getting away from heavy narrative, so it'll be interesting to see, does it hold up for me personally? Am I going to like something like this better? Am I going to like something like Sleeping Gods better, or Role Player Adventures, which I just reviewed last week? We'll see, and we'll kind of go from there. Next up, we have from Days of Wonder, Heat, Pedal to the Metal. This is sort of like the race car version of Flamme Rouge, the bicycle game, only taken as a race car version of it, essentially. And there's a lot of tracks, there's a lot of things that are going to go into it. This is a lot bigger version of Flamme Rouge, if you had like Flamme Rouge with all of its expansions thrown into one box at the very beginning, because that's what the price point is also going to cost you. 30 to 60 minutes, though, it's getting relatively well received praise after being released in sort of the most recent conventions and still not being widely available across the world yet from Days of Wonder. So we'll see. I'm interested in it, and I'm not really a racing fan or a race car fan whatsoever. So if it's doing that sort of thing for people like myself, you have to give it a lot of credit and credence. So we'll kind of see where it pans out, and if it's one of those, really games that sticks and lands hard after these conventions, or if it sort of, accelerates and then kind of gets lost in the pack later on. We still got a couple other releases that are coming out of Essen. We have Tiletum here, the other than the latest of the T games. And then we also have Revive, which again, people were saying this is a potential worker placement campaign, like 5-game campaign situation style game that you can maybe call Game of the Year as well. So definitely outside of my depth with either one of those. Take it for what it is. And then the last one on the Hotness right now is also on my radar, and I've been tempted. I've almost bought it a few times. It's been in my cart 1 or 2 times on board game stores online. It's Splendor Duel. I really like the idea of Splendor Duel, especially if they took Splendor and actually made it, a little bit of a heavier game, what people wanted Splendor to be originally and not what Splendor actually is. And a 2-player version that streamlines and really gives more, and it really seems to be getting positive reception so far in that line of not just being a 2-player version of Splendor, really giving it some depth, and it just more shares the name Splendor, but is not necessarily the same mechanistically. So that's really inciting and intriguing, and that's why it's, almost ended up in my collection so far, but just a matter of time. There you go. Up, down, all around. Hotness, news, a little bit of everything all in one. Haven't done one of these in a while. Feels good to get it out. And let me know what you think. Let me know what I missed. Let me know what you want to see. Let me know where things are at. Click the YouTube thing. And that's all I got. Patreon people, thank you so much. And I need to get a new lens for the top-down camera. That's all I got on my radar. Got to get reviews out too. Busy, busy, busy. I love this. I love talking about games. I love it. Thank you guys for watching in the first place. Makes it all the worthwhile. Stay classy. See you around.